Welcome to the Week 6 recap, fam. And this week I have a special guest. Next to me on my side this way is.
Tyler Shimoleski.
All right, how are you related to the family, Mr. Shimoleski?
Oh boy. Okay. So I am Stacy's son, and Stacy is a sister to Andy, who would be my uncle. And she's also a sister to Jim. So that would be Greg and Casey's sons. That also makes um, Greg and Casey my cousins, along with Allison and Sam. And then also Zach as well. So related to a lot of people in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is awesome. One of the best parts about our league is that we are related and know each other well. And I think it's why we've been able to smack talk and have good group conversation a lot better than other places, other fantasy football leagues I'm in. I'll at least say that. So, how long have you been doing fantasy football, Tyler?
0 years. This is my first year. I'm a rookie. I'm in two leagues actually though. So
All
yeah,
right. Not
yeah.
just dipping a toe in the water.
No, we're going all in.
That's awesome. So, how do you like it
Yeah.
so far?
Oh, I love it. It's fun. I'm every now and then in class I might be looking at fantasy football instead of looking at what the professor's doing. But I enjoy it. So it's kind of addicting, honestly. It's bad, but yeah.
It does become addicting, and
Yeah.
shame on you for checking fantasy football while you're working or at school. Nobody else here does that, right?
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, not at all. Well, being new, I think I usually ask about advice, but do you have any advice as somebody who is new to fantasy football?
So I guess my advice would be the players who you think are good or that you heard of are probably good and will do well for your team, with the exception of like a few players that have unfortunately just battled injury, like Julio Jones. So Jarvis Landry on my team specifically. A couple of years ago, they were solid players, but not anymore. So
Yeah. It's funny because you age pretty quickly in football in general.
exactly.
To me, it's one of the reasons that I stayed away from like Travis Kelsey this year, who's interestingly enough on your team,
Yeah, he's given me a lot of points.
but I think he's like 32 or 33, and he's just done so well for so long. And at some point, you feel like he's going to fall off. I mean, apparently, I don't think that about Tom Brady because I fucking drafted that guy who has been now just had his worst ever fantasy career, I think, so far. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you just need a quarterback that can run. Everyone's to get you a lot of points.
Yeah, that's very important. Um, Well, I think the advice that you've given is good because to me, when you're new, I think you should know the players that are on your team, and you want to know them. It just helps you have a little bit more fun with it. So I think you approached it in the right way as well. And your team's 4-2, so you can't really
Yeah,
argue with the results so far.
I'm doing much better than I thought I would for my first year. I'll just put it that way.
How are
Yeah,
you in your other league?
I'm 3-3.
Okay,
So I was at the top like a week ago or so, and now I've had two straight losses. So
okay.
yeah,
Now we're getting to crunch time. Now we're getting to
ex-
bye weeks. Now we're getting into
exactly.
injury realm. And now I think you'll start to find out about depth and stuff like that. But you're 7-5 on the year. That's a winning record. We'll take that. So
Yeah, I will take that as a rookie for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I am at a exact 500. I'm in 4 leagues, and I am at an exact 500, like 500. I'm 5-1 in the league. I'm 1-5 in another league, and in that league, I am second in scoring. I scored the
Are you
second highest
serious?
points. I actually looked at it because I was so frustrated. I lost again this past week, and I was number two. I was the second highest scorer of the fucking week, and I lost again. I have been the second highest scorer 3 times in 6 weeks, and have lost two of those three. I've been four. I think I went second, fourth, second, sixth, which I should have lost. That was fine. To third to second, and I'm 1-5. It's just been
That would drive me crazy.
yeah. And then I'm three
How
and three in ours and another one, so I'm 500.
how long have you been doing fantasy football?
Probably, yeah, close to 10 years, I would say. It's probably
Okay.
approaching 10. See, in a more serious fashion, probably 6 to 8, I would say. But where I'm like in 3+ leagues, that's probably been the past 5 to 6 years. But yeah, I've been doing it for a while. I love it.
Okay.
It is addicting. I will say, like
Yeah.
once NFL football hits, like it is my hobbies change.
Once you open that door, there's no going back.
Correct. Correct.
Yes.
Well, before we get into the ass whooping of the week, I do got to share a story about you because there's at least got to be one embarrassing story
Oh no.
about anybody on
Oh
here.
no.
And I don't know if you remember. Well, you got a couple coming up here. So when you've come traveled up here, I think there's been a few embarrassing stories. One would be when the Bucks played the Pacers, right in
Oh
Milwaukee,
God.
and I can't
Yeah.
remember even what our bet was, but ultimately you had to wear my like pink V-neck Minnie Mouse shirt.
You know, I remember the bet. I think it was who would score more points, Victor Oladipo or Giannis. I think that was the
Yeah,
bet. Yeah.
that's what it was. I remember that.
Yeah.
Now I got it. But that was a lot of fun. But that's not even the moment I want to talk about. I want to talk about when you came up here. You and Stacy had come up, and I think she was gonna like see Mark because she was gonna see your friend Mark at the time or something. And we went to the Brewers game. Me, you, and Allison went to the Brewers game, and you weren't
Oh
21. You were
no.
like 19
Oh
at the
no.
time. It started off great. We were tailgating. We're tailgating, we're drinking, we're grilling, and we're next to like this bachelorette party that they're
Yeah,
playing bags. You go over
I
there and play some
remember this.
bags with them. You were just the life of the party, man. You were doing awesome. I was like, oh, all right, look at this young
Yeah.
man. And then we go into the game, and at that point, you'd already apparently had too many beers, but we had a couple more beers, and you're like falling asleep. You were asleep in your seat at the game by like the halfway mark. It was so sad.
Yeah. Bit of a
Yeah,
lightweight there.
you were a young kid.
The
You're
prime
only
age of
19.
like, yeah, 19. I was definitely a lightweight. Yeah, still kind of am. At least I willingly admit it. But
Hey, but we
yeah.
we left the game early for you. We put you in the back seat. You slept for the next, the ride home, the hour plus ride home, and then I think you actually slept when you got back a little bit.
Yeah.
It was like a 6 in the evening. It wasn't even.
Really had to expose me like that.
I did,
Yeah.
I did. I
Yeah.
had to embarrass you a little bit, but I appreciate you going along with me. I'm gonna try to get these embarrassing moments going as much as I can. I didn't get Sam last week, so I don't really have many embarrassing moments for him so yet, but I do have some for you and Uncle Andy.
Yes.
So that's what I got. All right, but now we really will get into the ass whooping of the week. And I think we all know who that was because Zach announced it for himself. But yeah, Bob trounced him by 36 points. It was not very close of a matchup. I mean, Diggs and Eckler both had great games for Bob. Both of them played really well. Diggs is like the number 1 or 2 wide receiver on the year, and Eckler has actually turned it on the last 3 weeks to be a viable option. And another thing that I actually noted was Dawson Knox, the tight end for the Buffalo Bills, which is the tight end for Bob, caught a touchdown this weekend as well. And that's a big thing too, because I think for a lot of these tight ends, unless you have a Kelsey like you do, or you have a Mark
Mhm.
Andrews like Samacy does, like you're it's a challenge. So you're hoping that your tight end gets a touchdown, and his did. So it put him kind of up there in a good spot with this tight end as well. He just had overall like good performances from others during that time. And then Zach just kind of struggled, I guess. I don't even know what to say. He had a couple good pieces in there, but overall, man, it was just a struggle. And the Moore brothers he had at wide receiver did not do more. They did less. They
No.
did so much less. And that was rough.
Yes. Well, you mentioned Knox and Diggs. I actually have both of them on my other league actually. And I was surprised by Knox this week catching a touchdown, honestly, because he hasn't really done much
No,
up
he
until this
hadn't.
week. Yeah. So, and Diggs, I mean, he did what Diggs does, catch balls and score.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
easily best receiver in the league, in my opinion, right now. So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
because he's consistent and he goes for big games. Like he's got a good player there.
Exactly. But
But Knox was a good last year. I mean, last year he scored a lot of touchdowns. Like that was his key to success. Was last year he was scoring touchdowns until he got injured. I think at some point last year, but he was doing real well. And yeah, so it's good to see him have another good game. But he's not going to get a lot of targets, but he's heavily used
yeah,
in the end zone.
for sure.
But like another thing that I kind of noted, because oftentimes when I'm looking at these games, I look at who they could have played, and I was actually surprised that Zach sat Alan Lazard. I really would have played him over either of the Moore brothers. Like I would have literally played him over either one of those, just based on he's their best weapon on offense. Really, I think Lazard is, and he's used a lot again in the red zone. He's utilized a lot near for touchdowns, and so I probably would have played him over it. And the only other thing I noted was Bob has Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he also has Devontae Smith, who's a wide receiver for the Eagles. And the only reason I bring this up is Devontae Smith has actually played well, but he's been benched most of the time on Bob's team. And the only thing I would try to say to Bob is like try to find a way to get him in the lineup. And I only say that for the correlation. Like when you have a wide receiver quarterback combo, you really want to try to get them in the lineup together, because if the quarterback goes off, usually that receiver is probably a part of it, especially if you have one of the top receivers. And so you try to look for some of that correlation there. Like you had with Kyler and Marquise Brown, right? I mean, you have
Yeah,
that correlation of if Kyler goes off, Marquise is going to be a part of it. Now, obviously, we'll get to that a little bit later.
yeah, yeah.
But the correlation helps, and I think that's part of the reason that you're 4-2.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of your unfortunate situation with Kyler and Marquise, I guess that comes to our nail biter of the week, which is actually our game. So our game was
Yeah.
was the nail biter. Tell me about how it was from your perspective.
Well, so I initially thought, like, honestly, I thought I was gonna win before
Before we
the game
started,
even. Yeah, before we started, and then
why did you think that?
just because I've been doing so well consistently, you know.
That's
I
true.
mean,
You were 4-1 at that point. Yeah, that's
four and
true.
one, and granted, I didn't have Cooks, which I mean, Cooks hasn't really been cooking. So of course, they have a terrible quarterback. So I kind of feel bad for him in that sense. But Jonathan Taylor hurt, so I had to sub in Melvin Gordon. He was questionable all week, and I mean, he's the only other running back I have because Naheem Hines is hurt also, so I couldn't play him. So
Yeah.
it was a rough week for me in that aspect. And then during the game, for whatever reason, the Broncos decided to bench Melvin Gordon. I was like, well, that's a wrap. He's got it. So
I was
it
kind of surprised
was.
you didn't try to pick up Deion Jackson. I'm not kidding. I thought you might go for him because you had the others, and to me, I think
I
that. But I don't. But did you not feel comfortable dropping somebody?
Well, so I mean, the Broncos play the Chargers, right? And they have one of the
Yeah,
worst run defenses in the league. So I was like, maybe Gordon would do decent against
good
them.
point.
Lo and behold, he had like what, one carry for 8 yards, two carries for 8 yards, and
Yeah, I think
did
it carried the
nothing.
ball two or
Yeah.
three times, got eight
So
points. It was not good.
I was like, yeah, well, there goes that. So
That's smart. I think you thought it through. Like you said, the Chargers do have one of the worst run defenses, and Joey Bosa is out for a while for them, and so that's really hurt their defense, especially their defensive line. He's like their best player, and so that hurt their defensive line. So I think that was a smart move. I mean, looking back on it, you don't expect Deion Jackson to just
no,
go nutty
I
with
did
what
not
he
expect
did,
that.
but at the same point time, there was no other running back that was going to play. I mean, you had Philip Lindsay, but I mean, even last week, the previous week, that he didn't. He got some running at one point, and then it almost was like there's like, yeah, this guy doesn't do it for us. So they just
He
didn't really
doesn't.
play
I
him much.
mean, every carry I saw he got was maybe 1 or 2 yards, and he was down. I mean,
Yeah,
he was not producing numbers at all.
yeah. From my perspective, I know like I felt good about the week. I mean, I knew coming in it was going to be tough, but I felt good through the week. Like I should say through Sunday. I mean, almost every one of my players was in double digits. Like, but they weren't. There was no real like huge booms except for
Yeah,
the man I got off of waivers last week. Everybody, Ken Walker, he was my highest scorer with 22 plus points. Like he did really well, but otherwise, like I felt good. And then when we went into Monday night, that was where like the real nail biting was happening because I was up 3. You had Melvin Gordon, I had Mike Williams. Now I felt more secure because if I just look at the trend of the year so far, I felt like Keenan Allen out, Mike Williams gonna get a lot of targets, even though it's against a tough defense. And he's just shown like he should get me at least 10, 15 points minimum, if not 20 plus. Whereas like Melvin Gordon, I was like, he's only scored 15, 16 points a couple of times so
Yeah.
far. Not quite sure. So I felt good about it. And then they both just sucked. Like they
Yeah.
both were just did nothing. And it was pretty awful.
Your guy
So
just happened to be able to play the entire game. So
yeah, the coaches had faith in my guy, whereas they
yeah.
didn't have faith in Melvin Gordon at that
Yeah.
point. I don't know.
But I was thoroughly surprised by Kenny Walker. I honestly didn't know who that was until I looked at the score and I was like, who is this man popping off for 22 something points?
Yeah.
So
Rookie
yeah.
running back for the Seahawks, and they drafted him to do what he just did, and like he was projected as. So you have Brees Hall. So Brees Hall is the
Yeah.
guy I'm worried about. Beast doing well. Obviously, you're plugging him in constantly. He's doing great. He's gotten better and better
Yeah.
every week. Well, him and Brees Hall were neck and neck as far as who was the best running back. Now Brees Hall, coming into this draft, was considered just an overall better one because he could catch the ball and run. Like he was just an athletically, just a great athletic profile. But Ken Walker, they said, was the best pure running back of the group, out of Michigan State. So like I felt good with him, and I mean and they got him because Rashad Penny, just like he always does, gets hurt and isn't going to play, and like that's why they drafted Ken Walker. And like you said, you didn't know this guy before, and I'm not a college
Yeah.
guy, so like I don't really watch much college ball, but I listen to enough podcasts to kind of just know who some of these players are, and that's why I knew to get him. Like he's going to be big, and I was kind of surprised he was even out there for us. I actually was trying to get him the week before, so I was trying to get Ken Walker the week before, and I was trying to trade people. Like I thought they were good trades, by the way, people. Some of you with your spreadsheets, how's that working out, motherfuckers? But either way, I was trying to trade like 2-for-1s and 3-for-1s. Like I was trying to get more of my players off of my team so I could get Ken Walker onto my bench. I was like, he's still out there. He shouldn't be out there. What if Rashad Penny gets hurt? And then guess what? Rashad Penny gets hurt. And then I'm like, okay, I got to go after him. So I was surprised I got him. But I was trying beforehand to give out some 2-for-1s and 3-for-1s just to see if it could happen. But nobody bit. That's okay, people. I get it. I don't want to get my soapbox. Trading is tough. You have to trade away talent to get talent. So like that's just how it goes. Or there's no point. What's the point? Anywho, all right, we'll go on to our next matchups. All right, we're done with us, our nail biter. But I mean, the only thing I will say is I got my DeQuaris grapefruit here, so I got my victory drink. Now here's how y'all turn it into a DeQuarius Shemi Dog. So here's the new drink, DeQuarius Shemi Dog. You put a little bit of bitters in that drink, and now you got yourself
a DeQuarius Shemi Dog.
Shemi Dog, because it's a little more bitter this time around. Don't worry, it's gonna come back to you, son. Anyway,
so 4-2.
Don't worry. Oh, I'm on fire, dude. I'm NBA.
You are
3 in a row. I'm on fire, so I'm hoping to take it to 4 in a
hottest
row.
guy in the league right now.
Next week, that's gonna be a tough one. But the next matchup we're gonna talk about is Field Goal versus Suckadicka, and this was Allison versus her brother. This is Sam and Allison going at it. Hermano or Mano Femenino. I don't know. I don't know what the other one is for Spanish. I speak Spanish. But Allison got so fucking lucky this week that Sam had his Henry and Dameon Pierce out. So his 3-headed monster of running backs, 2 of the 3 heads were on bye this week. So she somehow pulls that draw. We'll see how that actually, just crazy. So she got lucky. However, she decided to show him her 3-headed beast of running backs with Kamara went off. Barkley had a good game. And then Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, that dude had a great game as well. So she had 3 running backs that performed well. And I honestly, she could have had the ass whooping of the week on him. She was close. She beat him by 28 points, but Herbert didn't show up. Herbert got like 8 points, 9 points. If he did anywhere close to his projection, she gets ass whooping of the week on her own brother. How good would that have felt?
Yeah, I was a little surprised by how bad Herbert did. That was unexpected, but their offensive line seemed non-existent that game.
Yeah, did you
So,
see? Oh my God. I mean, how many free runs were at
yeah.
Herbert? I was talking about that in the first half. Now I only make it through the half, as you know. I'm an old man now, but yeah, I saw at least 3 or 4 like free runs. Like
Yeah.
the guy didn't even get blocked.
So, yeah, that definitely would have been the blowout of the week had Herbert put up, 10 or so more points.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
could have easily been right there, but she still is the weekly high point winner. So we now have had 6 different people in a row win the weekly high points, which is awesome. So that again
That's
shows the
crazy.
versatility
Yeah.
in the league, man.
Yeah.
I did not expect that. I thought at least someone by now, by week 6, would have had it twice at least. Bob almost did. So I think Bob's one of the high ones. I think maybe not. I don't know. Um, that was too many for me to count. I don't really know. But anything else you saw from that game, or any players that you noted, or that noted either sucked or they maybe sucked a dicka, or they or they played well.
I guess Nick Chubb, he didn't really he didn't really do that well. I mean, I don't have Nick Chubb obviously in this league, but I have Nick Chubb in my other league, and he's always been put up pretty consistent good numbers, 15, 20 points, whatever.
Yeah,
And he didn't do too well this week, so
and against a team I
I
thought
would
that they
say
could run
that
against. Like I thought that like they'd be able to run against them, and they it was bad. It was bad for him and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt didn't do anything either. But Jamar Chase went off. I saw that. Like he got a big game from Jamar Chase. I'm sure he would have appreciated that in a win, but he went off for like 30 points. And just like when Burrow was on your bench and went off for 30 some odd points like that.
oh yeah, don't remind me of that. I
Yeah,
play
sorry.
him, I get a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that was obviously a big blowout win in general. And she wins weekly high point total. So congrats to Allison. We'll give you a round of applause for you.
Yes,
Uh,
congrats.
the next one violates bro code probably in some way, shape, or form, but the Omaha Colt Fins beat Licho Logos by over 20 points. It was like 22 or 23 points, I want to say, was the victory. And I know Andy feels really nice about that when he beats his brother in law. Um, I mean, Andy had some pretty good performances. I mean, the only person that didn't perform like he never does is Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson again just puts in like a mediocre performance. That's it.
He was hot in the first half, 10 for 10 or whatever it
Oh my
was.
God.
And then it just went downhill.
I think there was a post by I heard it today. It was like by Warren Sharp, who posted that the last 37 minutes of that game, he completed 3 passes and was sacked 3 times in the last 37 minutes of it. Meaning, so what? The game is 60 minutes. So you're looking at basically from the middle of the second quarter on, he completed only three
Yeah,
passes. Like just bad.
that's terrible.
Yeah, it's awful. So Russ not doing well. I know he's kind of irritated by that, but hey, he got a win again, so you can't really
Yeah,
golf at that too much. But he had solid performances from all the other players, all around, except for that. Even his defense, Phillies D is still doing well, so he got some good performances there. On
yeah.
Licho's side, Tyreek and Juju did well. Lamar Jackson was just okay, nothing like he's been the first 3 weeks, but other than that, it was kind of rough. I don't know if you saw anything else.
I would say mention Michael Pittman. He had a really good week this week. He hasn't really done much up until now. Looks like he had 20, almost 21 points for Andy. So 13 receptions, 134 yards. I mean, that's pretty good for him.
Yeah, that's big time in our league too, because we don't. It's a
Yeah,
half point per reception.
yeah,
So it's in my other league where I had Pittman, it was like 26, 27 points is what he got. Um, but obviously in this league, we're doing half points. But still, if you can get 20 points as a receiver in here without getting a
yeah.
touchdown, The guy didn't score a touchdown.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
And yeah,
that's
he still
crazy.
had a big week. So that probably makes Andy feel better because I know for us that own Pity City as we call him, he has not been he hasn't been great. I mean, he's been also kind of hurt. First week he had a great week, and then since then it's kind of been mediocre. But this was nice to see him bust out. And you as a Colts fan like that.
Yeah. And then Juju as well. I mean, he hasn't really done anything up until now either.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's why
yeah,
Zach was pissed off because Zach was
it's
like, I dropped him, and he actually finally does something. Great. That's
yeah,
great.
exactly.
But that's one where you don't chase it. Like it's, I think with that wide receiving core, you have Juju, you have Marquez Valdez Scantling, you have Nicole Hardman, you have even Sky Moore who doesn't really get much run at all. But and obviously Kelsey. Kelsey is the only consistent piece
Oh yeah, consistent numbers every week.
because even the running backs aren't consistent anymore. I mean, Clyde
No,
Edwards-Helaire has had two shitty weeks in a row, basically. Um, so he hasn't done well. And yeah, Kelsey's the only thing he got going. And Mahomes, I mean, Mahomes is just a great quarterback. He's just great. And so he's gonna, I mean, it's like Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson had a down week and he got 20 points almost.
hmm,
Mahomes had a quote unquote maybe more down week, but he still got 22, 23 points. He had I didn't say down week, he had a good week, but you
yeah,
know,
it's pretty good.
yeah, but Mahomes could always be great. So the last one, but not least, is kind of the lowest scoring of the affairs. But I have some aces versus DeQuarius Grapefruit. They beat him by about 15 points. DeQuarius had the lowest point total of the week. And the thing that I noted on here was Josh Allen, again, great, had a great freaking week again. And Leonard Fournette, another one who's putting in great performances each week. They combined for 55 of his 79 points. That means his seven other players combined for 24 points. Like, that's not good.
No,
I'm just going to put that out there because
yeah,
that's not good. Um, so I don't know what to do with that because I feel like he's already playing guys that are depth pieces usually on a roster, not so much starters, and so got to find some pieces that are more consistent and you can feel more confident in.
for sure.
With some aces, I mean, Cup actually had a down week for Cup. He had a good week for other wide receivers. Like I think he probably did better than any of my wide receivers on my team. But for being Cooper Cup, he
Yeah,
had like his
same
worst.
here.
Yeah, he had his like worst week of the
Yeah,
year so far, and he got like 14 points. That was kind of funny.
I
Um,
still consider that pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mark Andrews is still tough. I mean, Mark Andrews right there with Kelsey. If you had either
yeah,
of those two players, they're going to play every week. They're great talent. They're
putting up wide
basically
receiver numbers.
they're basically wide
Yeah,
receivers, and that's what
yeah,
they're. And I think
yeah.
it kind of proves a point of like certain positions. I think when people make and I don't mean to harp on trades, but I think just getting an idea around a trade, so many people look at like point totals, like what does someone put up point wise, but it's not really about that. It's not so much about points as it is about the position that you're trading for and the difference between that position on your roster currently and what you're going for, right? So if you think about tight ends, like a lower like if you were consistently getting 15 points as a tight end in our league, like that's fucking great.
Hmm.
You're telling me you're consistently getting 15 points as a running back, that's average. So
Yeah.
when you're trading for these players, you have to realize like you're trading a piece. You can't look at it as, well, I'm trading this running back who always gets 20 points for a tight end who always gets 15. That doesn't seem fair. Like I'm going to say no, but really, you're going to get a top two tight end at that point. You're going to get like one of the top two versus actually getting a decent like an average running back or above average running back. So that's where it's kind of tough. All right. Any other words you have for that matchup before we move on to injuries?
None that I can think of.
Okay. Well, we're going to move on to the injury realm. You felt one of them the most, and that is Mr. Marquise Brown. How do you
Yeah.
feel?
Yeah. So Marquise Brown, that definitely hurts me in that flex position, but with DeAndre Hopkins coming back, I think this week anyway, is it? when he's coming back.
Yep.
I feel like that was going to take away some of his points anyway. But I still think he's a valuable flex player. But obviously, the injury gets rid of that, and I'm still dealing with, you know, hopefully Jonathan Taylor can come back for me this week because he was injured. Hines, I don't really care about. He's not. He's maybe
He
5
was there to
points
be
if
the
that.
backup when Jonathan Taylor was
Yeah,
out.
exactly. And then he's hurt. So, you know, so I definitely battled some injuries this week. And, obviously Cooks had the bias that hurt me even more in the receiver positions. That's why I had to pick up Alec Pierce, and he actually did decent for me.
Hey, he did
So,
good
yeah,
pickup right there.
yeah, exactly.
And it's interesting you mentioned kind of the returning of Jonathan Taylor. And the reason I even bring that up is I think this week's injury recap is really more about the returns. Like you have Dak Prescott who's supposed to return. So I know, Casey and Samantha got to be, happy with his return. Um, Bob, who I'm playing, gets kind of, I shouldn't say kind of luck, but I'd say lucky. He kind of lucked out that Tua it will probably come back this week. I think he's going to come back this week because Jalen Hurts is out for Bob this week, and that's a big loss at quarterback. But if you get Tua right back in there, man, that Miami Dolphins offense has been good. So, and Tua's a much better quarterback than what they've had so far, even though Bridgewater
Oh,
hasn't done
yeah.
terribly. But yeah, I mean, some ones that I noted, Carson Wentz is now out for like multiple weeks, and Heineke's going to take his place. Um, the New Orleans wide receivers are still battling injuries. They play on Thursday night, so I know they already said basically Michael Thomas is not expected to play. Jarvis Landry is still not expected to play. Olave will probably play, I would imagine, so that gives him more run, which makes Andy happy. But some issues there. Um, but yeah, those are the major ones that I had. I mean, I don't think anything else was too pressing about it, but we do have some returns. You mentioned DeAndre Hopkins. He's on my
Yeah.
team. He comes back this week, which is nice. But another one that I think is notable for Allison is Devonte Adams. Technically, is not suspended yet because they're waiting basically for the whole, like the actual outcome of whatever happens in that whole case. For then they make their decision then. So Devonte Adams will probably actually play this week. Um, Upcoming waiver wires. We have a waiver wire tonight, so top free agents will be an important piece. I don't know if you have any that you noted. I've got a few written down here that I kind of noticed going through, but I don't know if you saw any players out there where you were like, "Hey, I might want to pick that up," or that might be a good piece for somebody else.
I would say the one that I really only have noted here would be Brandon Ayuk. I don't know how you
Yep,
say his last name,
yep,
but
you said it right. Nice job. Wi-
yeah, it
Wide
looks
receiver for
looks
the
like
San Francisco 49ers.
yeah. So if anyone is in need of a decent receiver, looks like he averages around 10.5 points. So I could use him, but if someone else gets him before me, you know,
Hey, Zach, you can pick
then
him up again. Zach never
yeah.
dropped him, so um,
So
and I actually notated him on here because I thought
yeah,
again, big week. When they're down, they're going to pass the ball. They've shown that, so maybe that'll help out. I did put Kenyon Drake, which is the running back for Baltimore Ravens, on here. He had a big game. I think it's a tough backfield to go for. Even Gus Edwards might be who's a running back for the Ravens, might be somebody to just pick up and stash if you have the ability to do that. I don't think our benches are big enough for us to really stash players. So that might be something to think about for next year. But I also notated Robbie Anderson actually because he's the one who got traded to the Cardinals to basically cover in Marquise Brown's absence. Might be a good guy to pick up. I mean, he's shown flashes in his career, but I don't know if he's there quite yet. But I definitely think some tight ends are out there for people. You have Robert Tunyon, who had a great game for Green Bay this weekend. He's a tight end for obviously for Aaron Rodgers and a main target for Aaron Rodgers, especially while Randall Cobb, one of their wide receivers, is out. I think that's a big pickup. Um, Kate Otten and I thought Greg Dulcich looked good last night. That guy like surprised me. The tight end for the Denver Broncos, like man, that dude was kind of fast. Like he looked good out there. So that could be a tight end that you might go for. And the only last thing I'm going to mention, and I think this actually speaks to what Zach talked about in one of the first podcasts of streaming defenses. So I actually looked at the defenses that nobody picked up. So they were left on our free agent list. There were, I think, like 6 or 8, maybe even 8 or 10 defenses that scored 8 points or more that were left on in the free agent area, meaning that we didn't think they were good enough to play on our team. Yet there was only, I think, 2 teams that had a defense that scored more like 8 or more points. So 8 of the 10 teams in our league, including you and I, could have
Yeah.
used a defense off of that was a free agent. And the only reason I notate it is this is why we talk about like you don't gotta unless you have a top like 5 defense, don't feel like you gotta hold on to these defenses. Like you can play the matchups each week and actually get good points out of it.
Yeah. I've noticed that with defenses, it's like every week they seem to put up different numbers. So, like, I know I tried to pick up San Francisco after they popped off, and you got it before me. So, yeah, and
When they
it's
got
like
dropped, I was like, oh, that's a silly
yeah,
move because they were to me a top 5 defense. But if you're
yeah,
stringing defenses and they're not there, I get it too. You got to get a player, but
exactly. So,
yeah,
never know.
look at that moving forward, everybody. Of I look at more of the matchup to see what you can do with that, and you'll notice Zach keeps dropping defenses and picking up other ones for that exact purpose, basically. Um, all right, now we're coming up to the comments or smack talk of the week. Did anything stand out to you?
Oh yes, I've got one here. Let me pull it up. Where is it? Okay, it was by Louis. He says, well, Andy, only time you are going to leave this weekend is tonight. Enjoy it for a while. I like that one. That made me laugh. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, Louis had some good ones. I will say Louis had some really good ones. Mine actually comes from your own mouth because I'm rubbing it in your fucking face.
Yeah, I eat my
You
own
said
fucking
that's not the
words.
smack talk for a 2-3 team.
Yeah, I knew I was gonna eat that shit the moment I opened my mouth.
Tastes like bitters. So good, so good. But yeah, those were our candidates for that this week. All right, we have some upcoming matchups here. Some that I've kind of notated were I actually feel like the matchup I have between Bandwagon Bob is a big one. We're both 3-3. He is the highest. He's quietly been the highest scoring team in our league. I don't think anybody realizes that. I looked that up. He's the highest scoring team in the league is Bob. So I'm a little worried. I'm not gonna lie. I've won 3 in a row, but my only saving grace is he has multiple people out. He's got Hurts out, Diggs out, Devonta Smith out, Knox, Singletary. So he's got a lot of guys out, but he is getting Tua back, which I think is helpful. Whereas I have Dalvin Cook that's out, but I should hopefully be getting DeAndre Swift back, and therefore I can just change him out. That's my hope. The other battle that I actually looked at too were the two 4-2 teams that are facing off, and that would be Andy and Allison. They're facing off this week, so the Colt Finns are playing field goal. But I know that Andy's got a tough bye. He's got Justin Jefferson out, Goddard, Gabe Davis. Those 3 are out, so that's tough. However, he does get Chris Olave back from his concussion, as well as Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's coming back, and he should be healthy, and hopefully his ankle is good to go. So I think he still is going to be good. And then I think Allison's going to be solid. She doesn't really have many people out. And like I said, that Devontae Adams news means that she should be able to play him this week on her team and get some good points. Anybody that you're looking at or any game that you saw that you thought was interesting?
Well, I think the game you have against Bob, I mean, I think that's going to be a good one just because you're on fire right now, which is kind of terrifying. So, yeah, whoever has to play him after Bob and also Bob, yeah, watch out because
Yeah,